Hey everybody, welcome back to Tommy's Tesla Tech and Travel. We're getting ready to go on another Disneyland trip here, so I thought I'd take the time here to answer some questions that I've been asked over the last couple of years about our frequent trips to Disney. It's the 10 questions I've been asked the most often. Whether it was via text message, in the comments, or wherever, these are the top 10 questions we've received about Disney. Let's go. Number 1. I'm going to start off with the most common. The question I get asked the most is, when is the best time to go to Disneyland? It's a loaded answer, and let me give it to you here. Way back when, I used to have a client that I worked with who was a Disney trip planner. I don't know if they actually worked officially for Disney or for like a travel agency like Getaway Today or something along those lines, but in some capacity they worked for like vacation planning specifically around Disney. And I asked her one time, when is the best time to go to the parks? We like to go, and we've been a couple times at this point. This was more than 10 years ago when my wife and I first started dating. And she said, well, every day in Disney is magical. But if I planned my trip, and that's when she actually gave me some dates. If she said if she were to plan her trip, she'd pick 2 times during the year. The first one is the day after Labor Day. Not Labor Day in itself, but the day after. The days following Labor Day are some of the slowest days in the park in my experience. The first time that we went the day after Labor Day, we arrived on that Monday, which was Labor Day. The next day, we were running serpentine patterns in New Orleans Square because nobody was there. The longest wait we had was for Space Mountain, and it was less than 25 minutes. It was one of the best vacations we had ever been on, and since that time, we always try to plan our trips around Labor Day week. However, now that we have kids and they're in school and everything, not the easiest time to go. And in my field of work, that's a really busy time for me. I can never get away anymore. The other time is that little lull right between Halloween and Thanksgiving. So my birthday happens to be in the first part of November. So we've made that trip now a couple times where we've arrived like on Halloween or day before. Disney's a madhouse with Oogie Boogie Bash and everything just centered around Disney or Halloween time. But that day after, the All Saints Day leading it up, some of the best days to go. And you actually kind of get to see that transition from the Halloween time to Christmas time. So those are, to my opinion, the 2 best times to go during the year. Now, for all of us that have kids, it's really hard to go during these off times because kids are in school, we're in work. We have to go when the kids are out, but that's when everyone else is going too. So like spring break and winter break, things like that, not the best times to go. But if you're a Disneyphile, you do what you gotta do. Question number 2, is staying on Disney property worth it? Again, a loaded answer. So price-wise, that's the most expensive prices you're going to pay for accommodations near or around any Disney park, whether it's here or Disney World. Here's the reason why it's a loaded answer. If you're going to Disney World, basically everything is on property. Even like the Good Neighbor resorts are technically kind of on property. But the prices out there, in my experience, the one time we went, were just as comparable as actually paying the Disney prices for a Disney-themed hotel like Pop Century or Art of Animation, which is where we stayed. These are considered budget like Disney properties, but they were spectacular. And when it comes to Disney properties, that's why you ask, is it worth it to stay financially on a Disney property? If you want the Disney magic, yes. It is really an experience in and of itself. If you go in there with the mentality that it's a Disney experience, it's 100% worth it. Now, that's not true for everybody. And you're there for the parks, not necessarily for the accommodations. In my personal opinion experience, you should be spending as least amount of time as possible in your hotels. So to me, a hotel is never a make or break thing. We have the ones that we like in Disneyland, we love the Anaheim Park Hotel, or the park at the Sheraton. We like that one because it's close enough, but also just far enough away we don't deal with a lot of the Disney traffic. But we also like the Anaheim Hotel. We love the theme park entrance hotel. We stayed at the Disney Hotel there, which was amazing, but because of the cost, it's not something we've done often or for long periods of time, maybe 1 or 2 nights as we're passing through. So is staying on Disney property worth it? For the experience, yes. Maybe once in life, like an anniversary or a graduation or something spectacular that you're planning and celebrating, but not necessarily every single trip, every time. Have a good bed to sleep in. That's a good thing. There you go. I don't care how much the hotel costs. Make sure it's a good bed that you sleep in. This next question, I honestly don't know how to answer it properly. It says, what are some must-dos and some skips that you can do? I love everything. That's the nice thing about Disney. Every single thing you do is pretty amazing, whether it's at Disney California Adventure or whether it's at Disneyland proper. Anything you do is worth the trip, in my opinion. Now the skips, there's some things that we've done a bunch that if I don't get to do them, I'm not heartbroken per se. Like for example, like I couldn't tell you the last time I rode on Guardians of the Galaxy, aka Twilight Zone. That one I skip because the lines are always so long, the ride vehicles don't accommodate a lot of people, and it's kind of been the same way to me with the Cars ride over in Disney California Adventure. But like this time around, we're gonna have to, bite the bullet on that one because my youngest is absolutely obsessed with cars and he now understands there's a Cars ride and he's going on it. So that's gonna be a must do this time around, but traditionally that one's been a skip for me. As far as like skip goes, I skip the fireworks because fireworks are fun and all, but everybody's looking at them. That gives us time to do other attractions and things we don't get to do during the better part of the day. There's not a lot that I would say is a skip, like, oh, you're gonna be fine without doing that. It really comes down to you and your group. Like a lot of people tell you great moments with Mr. Lincoln is a total skip. It's one of my favorite things to do at Disneyland, but I'm also a history kid, my degree's in history, and I love it. And to me, it's a great place to take a break, which we'll get at a little bit later in this video. So skips and must-dos, I think the must-dos are, you gotta have a churro, you gotta have a Dole Whip, you gotta try and ride one of the opening day attractions. Like to me, a skip is usually Peter Pan because it's such a long wait. But for most people, it's a must-do. We're going to Disneyland for the first time with some family. I know we're gonna have to wait in that line because these kids have never ridden it before, and that's one of those opening day things that you have to have under your belt as a Disneyland fan. So there's nothing that you must skip, but I say do as much as possible, but don't wear yourself out. Remember our first rule, take breaks. Next question. Are there any budget-friendly tips you can offer to a family? Absolutely. First off, don't be afraid to ask for water. Every place in Disney parks will provide free water if you ask. But the big one for me is the souvenirs. That's the always thing that gets us. Like you pay so much to get in the park, you're kind of hesitant to spend money while you're in there to have those physical things that capture those memories. Because whether we like it or not, purchasing things at Disney or going home with souvenirs is completely part of the experience. I mean, I'm wearing my hat here, I got one of my Spirit jerseys on. It's a must. But there's lots of things that you can get that don't require you to spend any money. The big one for me is if you're down hall or if you see like a cast member, sometimes you ask them if there's any extra magic you can have. Those are those little buttons. I love the buttons. We save those every time we go. We get buttons from different areas like Goofy's Kitchen, for birthdays, for anniversaries. Those buttons are free and they're great souvenirs. They really capture the moment and the memory. Another thing is, if you have a cast member who's taking the photos, you can actually give them your phone and say, hey, can you take a photo? And they totally will. Yes, you can buy the photos that they take professionally, but they'll also take them with your phones. And hey, they're professional photographers. They're gonna take a great photo with that picture. But remember, be polite, say thank you, use your manners, because you're the one person right now, but they're dealing with hundreds of you throughout the day. So the cast members there, they really deserve your thanks and gratitude because they put up with a lot of us Disney adults and we appreciate it. But that's one of the big budget-friendly tips, is ask for like the buttons and get the pictures where you can. And just look around, there's always lots of fun things. Last time I was on the Indiana Jones ride, I was able to get one of the cards that helped translates the hieroglyphics. And we put together this little, what do they call it, the 3D frame with all these different things that we collected at Disney over the years. Whether it's the little thing that comes on the bottom of a balloon or the buttons or cards or whatever. And we put them inside there and those are like a little treasure chest for us for our memories from all of our experiences at Disney. So yeah, there you go. Collect the things that you can, attach the memory, not the price tag. Question number 5, we're getting halfway there. All right, my favorite attraction, my least favorite attraction. I love them all. I have to say there's 2 that have a special place in my heart that will always just be those main ones for me. Number 1 would be Pirates of the Caribbean. It's actually the first ride my wife and I ever rode together, and it's the one we must do every time we go, even though our kids are petrified of the ride at this point. I don't know why, completely terrified of it. But that one holds a special place in my heart, and like most Disney files, as soon as I get that smell from the Pirates water, I'm home, I'm in heaven. I love it. Wear it as a cologne if I could. I'll attract other Disney files, which I admit some of us are weird, me included. My second favorite one was Splash Mountain. I absolutely love Splash Mountain. It was one of my favorite rides. It was like one of the first like adult rides I went on where I wasn't petrified or scared. I think I was like 8 or 9 the first time I went on it, and I absolutely loved it. I loved that thrill of going down the mountain. It was amazing. And I'm sure I was gonna have the same, fun and thrills from Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but the reality is it was Splash Mountain that held a special place in my heart because it was one of those first rides I ever got on. And I guess a special mention would be Big Thunder Mountain, because that was the first roller coaster I ever actually rode and enjoyed. So that's up there too, but my two favorites are tied between Splash Mountain and Pirates of the Caribbean. My least favorite. This is a hard one to answer because I guess technically if you go back to a couple of questions ago, this would be one of my skips, but both of my kids absolutely love it. And it's a small world. And the historical significance behind it from the World's Fair was first introduced, and to me it's one of those defining things that really makes Disneyland. So yes, I love Small World for what it represents, what it is, and what it was as far as Disney's legacy. But as a almost 40-year-old adult, I can only take it for so long. Question number 6. This is a fantastic question because there is a handful of things. And one of those things I will be checking off my list this time around, to a certain degree. I've always wanted to eat at Lamplight Lounge, but it was always crazy walk-ups, and I've never gotten reservations until this trip. So we have reservations to eat there on Monday, but we have reservations at 1:45, and we are having dinner at the Disneyland Hotel, Goofy's Kitchen, at 7. So not gonna eat a big meal, but I finally get to be there. But the main thing that's on my list, there's two of them. One is actually doable, the other one probably never, unfortunately. I would love to do the Walking with Walt tour and like go see the apartment and everything else, which is not a bad price. I think it's like $100-something a person. And to me, that falls under like the first question of, is staying on Disney property worth it? Yeah, once I think. Same thing this one. I will definitely fork out the money one time to really do it. I actually planned on doing it on my trip to WonderCon. However, I just ran out of time and I was trying to save that money to spend on comic books. Because yes, I'm a huge nerd. So Walking with Walt. But the one that I don't think will ever happen in my lifetime, you guessed it, dining at Club 33. You have to know someone who's a member or have to be a member yourself. You have to make reservations well in advance. The exclusivity behind it is crazy. I think you have a better chance of getting into Harvard than dining at Club 33. So sadly, I think that's a thing I will never get to do, but is definitely on my list as one of those things that I haven't done yet that I would love to do. Question number 7. This is an unfair one. As someone who lives in Arizona, which is essentially California light at this point, like we're connected. In fact, people say you're from the Southwest. Like I kind of always consider myself more West Coast than Southwest. Just like this is a weird comparison. Please don't roast me in the comments. But like when someone tells me they're from Chicago, or when I get to my visit Chicago, in my mind, I'm not in the Midwest. I'm on the East Coast. It's kind of the way that your brain works with the environment you're in. Being a Tucsonan who's about 5.5, 6 hours away from Disneyland at any given point, I consider myself like a local, if you will. So out of choosing Disneyland or Disney World, I'm gonna go Disneyland every time. It was Walt's original Magic Kingdom. It's where Walt walked. It's where Walt actually had a hand in designing. And it's a place that I spent hundreds of hours with my family building core memories. That being said, we've been to Disney World once, and we did drive from Tucson to Orlando, so that kind of took some of the out of it. We had a blast, and we can't wait to go back because it's Disneyland was the prototype. Disney World was the practical application. And I would love to go back where we didn't drive for 3 straight days and we're just totally jet lagged from the drive. That was a weird comparison, but we loved it. We want to go back and experience more time. But if I had to choose between the two, yeah, I'm going to go Disneyland every time. Hey, it's my home park. Question number 8, and this is a 3-parter. Best place to eat. Let's start off with that one. It depends. Are you talking about quick service or sit down? I'm just going to assume we're talking about the best place to eat, period. My opinion. Plaza Inn. Plaza Inn, I think, is the most reasonably priced to sit down place, even though it is technically kind of like quick service. You go in there and say that, and sit down. There's no like server that you're tipping or anything. But the portions are huge. My wife and I always go in there and get the fried chicken plate and then get like a side, and we split it and there's usually food left. I mean, look at me. I love food and there's food left. So to me, the Plaza Inn is the best place, and I've never had trouble getting a table inside or outside, wherever there. I can always sit at Plaza Inn. My favorite. Love it, love it, love it. As far as quick service goes, I've always liked Pim's Test Kitchen because you mobile order in advance, you get there. The issue there is there's never a place to sit down during certain times of the day. So we always plan our lunches and dinners and everything an hour or two before the common times. Like if everybody's eating lunch at noon, we're trying to eat it at like 11 or 1. If everybody's having dinner at like 5, we're trying to go like at 4:30 or 6:30. But those are my 2 favorite. I love Plaza Inn personally, and I love Pim's Test Kitchen over in DCA for like the real quick service. Can't go wrong with it. The second part of that question is, where's the best place to rest? Well, I already said the answer earlier in this video. Great moments with Mr. Lincoln. It's not an opening day attraction, but it might as well be, and it's one of those things that Walt was really passionate about. There's never a wait. They play it every 15 minutes or so. It's air conditioned, it's inside, and it's still an attraction. So it's not like you're not doing something. You're looking at one of the original OG, like Walt loved attractions while resting. So to me, that's hands down the best place to rest and still be part of like a Disney attraction. The other place, if you just want to rest and get away from everything, there's a couple different areas you can go to. I think over there in what used to be near Launch Bay, where you can go to the Galactic Grill, you usually find tables over there, no problem. And there's a nice little area over by Nemo, Finding Nemo, the Nemo submarines, where it used to be part of the old boat attraction once upon a time where you can control like RC boats in the water. And there's almost always seating or just availability there in shade. Those to me are the two best places to rest in Disneyland. And part 3, one of my favorite questions. Best bathroom to use. To me, there's a couple bathrooms. The best one to me is over by where the Red Wagon is, where you get your Red Wagon corn dogs. If you keep heading back that direction, it's where like the parents area is, if you need like extra diapers, all that stuff, or parenting changing stations. There's a great bathroom right back there. And the other one is over by Star Trader, or not Star Trader, Star Trader, just past Star Tours. I've never had any issues getting into those restrooms. It's kind of like between Alien Planet and where the Captain EO used to play in the theater. There's a bathroom over there, never had any issues. You just almost always clean. Almost always. Question number 9. Is there anything I wish they bring back? I mean, there's plenty. Disney, as Walt once said, Disney will never be complete. It's always going to be under construction, always being developed. But if there's something they can bring back that I absolutely love from Once Upon a Time, is the electrical parade. Last time I saw it was when Henry was 2, I believe, 2 or 3. And it was one of my favorite core memories from being a kid that I got to share with my kid as an adult. I loved it, but the problem is my kid is spot on with his bedtime. If it's 8 p.m., he's out. He's taking himself to bed. You're not going to see him for the rest of the night. So being up that late was always a chore with him. In fact, the last time that we saw it when he was like 2, I had him on my shoulders. It just started. I'm excited. He starts kicking me, and next thing I know, he pulls my hair, and I look at him, and he just kind of pointed his eyes like, I'm tired. Had him down. He was asleep by the time we got to the front of the park while the parade was still going on. So I wish they could bring him back now that he's older, and I think he'd be more inclined to stay up and actually watch it. Because to me, it was so mesmerizing as a kid. Granted, I probably have revisionist memories because I was a kid, and it was amazing technology and something so large and spectacle back then. Now kids with YouTube, like here, you've seen all that. They've seen it all. Just the way the internet was for my generation, YouTube and everyone having a camera in their hand is for my son's generation. But the Main Street Electrical Parade, absolutely loved. And Splash Mountain from a question earlier. And last but not least, question 10. So this question, I'm gonna get a little more serious with y'all and maybe give a little more detail to the answer. So let's break down the question. You're an adult. Why do you guys go to Disneyland so much? It's what it represents and what it is. It was the first place my wife and I went on vacation with each other, and I've been to Disneyland before that 10-ish times over the course of my life. And bear in mind, we moved in together when I was like 29, 28, I'm about to be 40. But she wanted to go. I said, oh yeah, I like Disneyland, that's fun. Then I saw kind of what it represented in her eyes and what it meant to me for us being together, and then just what Disneyland meant as a whole. When we first got together, I had just finished college because I had gone back a little bit later. We're getting started in the real workforce and everything else. And you know, you have adult pressures and adult scenarios around you all the time. And something about Disney is an escape from all that. It's kind of a form of therapy, I guess you could say in a certain way. For those brief days, moments, hours, whatever, there's no problems in the world. You're there. Disneyland represents something I absolutely love from every different aspect and facet. So look at it this way. My undergraduate was in history, kind of law and all that, but history specifically. The history that Disneyland represents, and Walt being a huge fan of Disney, or history himself, great moments of Mr. Lincoln. He loved literature, he loved culture. He pulled from, Mary Poppins. He pulled from, J.M. Barrie with Peter Pan. He pulled from the mythos and culture, literary culture, and whatever you want to from around the world and from different countries, different walks of life, the whole nine. I just can't explain it. There's something magical about it. Now, which is weird. If you see me outside of here, some people might even tell you I'm a cynical adult. I always see like the dark side of things. Like It's the way my brain tends to work. But when I'm at Disney, it's something completely different. I get to be that person without the pressures, the person without the worries, the depression, the anxiety, like you're there. And now that I'm a parent, going with my wife and family, I see how much she loves it in her eyes. I see the light in their eyes. There's something that ties generations together by being there. And the fact that it's always developing and it's never going to be finished means you guys are always experiencing something together for the first time, those core memories. That's one of the many things I love about it. But even from the history of it, I mean, just knowing like the Dominguez palm that's there from the people that originally owned it, and they paid so much respect and loyalty to this family that sold their land to develop this thing that could just crash at any moment back then, shows this the beauty of what it is to be a Disney file and what it was to be Walt Disney and his wife Lily. Like, I love everything about this. Now, I admit it, the prices are ridiculous. Even with inflation, I mean, it just keeps going up and up and up and up, but at the same time, supply and demand, Disney files are willing to pay it for those memories, for those, just that feeling walking in there. Every time I walk into Disneyland, first thing I do is take a deep breath. So I know at that moment it's the longest amount of time before I have to leave again. And I can just enjoy it. The world outside those gates is gone. So that's why, I mean, why do you go to Disneyland so much? We are blessed to be in a position where we can, but also it's kind of something we need in the long run. Like, we're talking about doing what we're gonna do for my 40th birthday coming up in a few months, and float some other ideas. Like, I haven't been to Vegas in a few years. We've never been on a cruise. We're talking about going back to Florida, maybe going to Washington, D.C., where we spend our honeymoon, because our kids are now showing an interest in the history that we both love so much. Let's face reality, we're probably gonna be at Disneyland again. we pay for those annual passes, we gotta use them. So I don't know, it's just something magical about it that draws us back over and over again. There's an old saying, there's a joke that says, money and calories at Disneyland doesn't count. Well, yes, trust me, it does. But I get what they're trying to say. Like, if I'm there and I spend $300 or $400 on a dinner for us and like family, whatever, it's a lot of money, but it doesn't bother me as much as having to pay $400 for this bill over here that I have to. It's just a weird dichotomy between it. So what does it mean to be a Disney adult? It means community. It means mental health in my experience. And it also just means you're not so involved in your own self that you're willing to forego something that makes you happy simply because society says you're not supposed to. So that to me is what it is to be a Disney adult. Because my mother took me to Disney back, when maybe we didn't have a lot of extra money around, or there wasn't a lot of time. Like, we were there for maybe a day. Like, now when we go, we're never there for less than 4 days, because to me, even in 4 days, you don't get to do everything. But, she scraped together the money and made time for us to go for that day. And those started the foundation of these core memories I'm talking about, that she passed down to me, something she never got to do because of the financial position her family was in her youth. Granted, she was born in '56, so Disneyland was a year old then. But it's something that she did for me that I'm now passing on to my kids. It's now part of their, part of their life. That's hopefully going to be part of the life they give to their kids or whoever. So to me, Disney is community, it's legacy, and it's part of who you are. I hope that answers that question. Hey, if you made it this far, I really, really do appreciate it. This is just a little video I've been thinking about putting together for a while. Originally me and my wife, but she's tired and I got nothing better to do at like 2 a.m. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I'm making it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We do videos on Disney, Tesla, tech, travel, comics, pop culture, whatever catches our fancy in the moment. There's no confinement to our videos we make here. So hit that like button, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for taking another ride with us. Let's take another ride again soon. I think there's only one video left before we start heading towards Disney. Bye-bye, everybody.